Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast, where each week we speak with brands, icons, innovators, and trailblazers within the fly fishing industry, exploring both the successes and failures they've encountered along the way to become who they are today. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast or joined our email list, please do so by going to the flyfisherinsiderpodcast.com, or you can also find us on Instagram at flyfisherinsiderpodcast. Now let's begin. Today our guest is Chris Hanson. Chris Hanson is the owner of 3G Engagement. Chris is an active fly fisher and well-rated in the fly fishing industry. Chris hits as pro staff or product ambassadors for many notable brands. Chris's recent passion for filmmaking has now come together with his passion for fly fishing. And he and his company have started to create some spectacular footage. Currently in development, 3G Engagement is focused on helping anglers and brands gain exposure in the fly fishing world using Chris's team and talents. Chris, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem, Chris. Before we get started, I just wanted to say I've been following the recent build of your house and whatnot, but someone in your family has a spectacular eye for detail. I just got to say, it's a beautiful house. And for those that haven't seen it, you need to see it. Who's responsible for that, you or your wife?
Thanks so much. It's definitely my wife with detail and design and this custom plan and really a dream home beyond whatever, we never thought we'd build a home like this. So she's amazing.
You know what? There's a lot of content here, so let's just jump to it. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family, how long you've been fishing for?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Minneapolis, was a city kid in the beginning, then, just kind of some different changes in life and found myself up in northern Minnesota. By northern Minnesota, an hour south of the Canadian border, kind of right in the middle, the Iron Range. So living in the woods. I've been married to my lovely wife, Bobby Joe, for 26 years, and we have 3 kids. And fishing, I grew up fishing, not fly fishing. Grew up fishing and enjoyed it, but it was never a passion. A few years ago, when I got into fly fishing after we moved to Colorado, it became a real big passion, something that, I can't get enough of, that I'm always planning and always thinking about fly fishing and when I can go out.
So when you moved to Colorado, is that when you started 3G Engagement?
Yes, it is. Originally moved to Colorado. I was a digital strategist on the Subaru account, and that's what relocated us to Colorado. And then some changes kind of came up with that job, and then I started 3G Engagement.
And what is 3G Engagement?
3G Engagement's a digital marketing company. Kind of our core client has always been in automotive, because that's the industry that I've been in, and so we work with a lot of automotive dealerships. But then we also have some other clients, large clients like BJ's Restaurant and Brew House, over 200 locations, and then because of my passion for fly fishing, obviously this digital marketing that I've done for years, I really wanted to apply that and help fly shops and fly fishing companies and how they market online.
The question on everyone's mind, including myself, is like, how does 3G Engagement help a fishing business or a guiding outfit or a fly shop? Can you walk us through that in a bit more detail?
So I think everybody at this point today understands that when we want to find information, we go to Google and we Google it. And so that's really kind of the core of it, is when people do searches, how do you show up in those search results? So there's pay-per-click, there's paid options that you can do, and then organically, SEO. And so when someone searches for best fly fishing line or best fly fishing tippet, how do I get my website to show up? How do I get my products to show up when people are searching? And so really kind of that's the core of how do I drive more business online for more orders and more booking for fly fishing trips.
Well, I like that. Some of your clients that you do help out, is it mostly like product, or is it more guiding, or is it more lodges and hotel, like destinations? Explain to us who the market is that you cater to.
Yeah, absolutely. So within the fly fishing community, it's fly shops, Blue Quill Angler, and that's both helping sell product and helping guide trips. And then, Pat Dorsey, who is, part owner there, we also built his website and we manage the Blue Quill Angler website. And, obviously for Pat, it's about more guided trips. Of course, the guy's busy and hard to book with as it is. Riggs is another fly shop, great fly shop, where Matt is a guide there. We built his website. And then Cortland, who pretty awesome because I'm an ambassador for them, was for a few months. And then we started talking their plan, what they're doing to grow. So they're now a client. And so definitely product driven visibility. And then, some odds and ends, people like, Tailwater Junkie, we'll talk, about later. He's selling flies, and so drive more business to sell more flies. And then we did a cool project with Landon. So it's kind of a mix of a lot of different fly shops and guides, both with different objectives. But main thing is driving more visibility and driving more traffic to the website that ultimately would turn into guide trips or product sales.
Chris, sounds like you're like a one-stop shop. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, we pretty much, everything we do is in-house. So, we don't we have 20 employees, project stuff out. We do it. So if it's content, we have a content team. They're great at researching. Some of them fly fish now as well because of my passion. And so they wanted to try it out. Paid search, any type of marketing. There's some really cool things that you can do. And so we do everything. Really kind of the only thing we don't do is managing social media for people on a large scale or even smaller scale. We just don't do the posting. But when it comes to paid, Instagram, Facebook marketing, we do that.
Okay. Who manages your social media account? Because I've seen some pictures all the time and they're amazing. Spectacular photography.
Yeah, thanks. So my personal account, I manage that. Everything that I post and write comes from me. In regards to photos, it's pretty cool because I have several people that I fish with that are great photographers. I got my brother into fly fishing. He works for me now. He's an amazing photographer. Rob Herman, who's a great photographer and also helping me with my fly fishing project. He fishes with me. Matt, I give credit. Whoever takes a photo, I give credit for. I'm just fortunate to fish with a lot of great photographers. And I do okay myself too. And I do selfie photos that a lot of people are surprised they're a selfie photo from my phone. So I'm not too bad.
Hey, on a personal question, I'm always looking, how do I take a fish picture, a picture of me, selfie of me holding a fish? I'm struggle with that one all the time.
So I mean, the main difficulty isn't so much the photo, but it's holding
Correct.
the fish. Yeah. And so even when someone else is taking a photo I find a lot of people, which is kind of funny, is you struggle against a fish, you hold tighter, you get more struggle back. And so it's really keep them in the water, keep them in the net, of course, get that kind of, hold under them and let them relax. And you kind of feel them relax so that you can lift them up and it's not squeezing them. And when they, sometimes they struggle, and they don't want to cooperate, but most of the time, just placing that hand right in the water, lift up, get the photo. When you're doing the selfie, I hold my arm out really far and then, tend to be lower in the water because it's a little bit easier than holding them up. But it's all in it's all in holding it.
Good to know. I know we're digressing here a little bit. So I want to jump back to what were the early days of your business like? I mean, you got 20 employees going on. You moved to Colorado. You hired a lot of friends and family. You got fly fishing going on. You're a busy guy. What were those early days of your business like? Walk me through that.
Yeah. So, what happened was I was a digital strategist on the Subaru account. Great job. Loved what I did. And they were just kind of changing the position and how it worked and focus. The new position would be 80% travel. It was higher pay, but at this point in my life that's 2011, 2010, I just couldn't, everything I get into, I'm an all or nothing person. And so, whether it's work, whether it's working for somebody else, myself, it doesn't matter. Fly fishing, sled dogs back in the day. And so it was like 80% travel. I couldn't do that in this point in my life and with the family. Really, 3G engagement was started from kind of giving up higher paid position, but 80% travel to go, I'm just going to start my own business. Started the company. At that point, it was just myself and my wife. And I wasn't fly fishing at the time. And I literally spent the first 4.5 years working from 5, 6 in the morning to 10, 11 at night. I was the guy that you're out to dinner with friends, family, and phone rings. I pick up the phone. I'm replying to people. I'm the guy that you really don't even want to do anything with because all I do is work. Yeah, and that's what it was like.
Yeah, but those early days, that's what you've done. You were hustling, and now it's paid off, right? You just built your dream home. You're a product ambassador. You fish consistently. You were just telling me off air that you haven't fished in 3 weeks, and it feels like the end of the world. I mean, most people don't get to fish that much, so that's kind of you got the fruits of your labor, which is exactly what everyone should be striving towards. So, Chris, I know you're a pro staff and ambassador for many products, like I mentioned earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about which ones you supported by?
Yeah, it's funny, the whole ambassador thing, it's interesting, people's reaction to it, and people talk about motives, but, I'm very fortunate to be able to work with brands that I love because I love their product. And I've had several different brands send me things that I didn't post and didn't like, told them, hey, I really appreciate it, but it's not a good fit for me. And it's not something I can get behind. And so, I think a lot of the perception is, you get free stuff and, just grab everything you can. But for me, I don't need it. And so I really want products that I love and that I use. And so Cortland line is a big one. They've been around for years. I think a lot of people kind of know their story where they were, turned in from core fly fishing. Everybody knew them. They were the leader, kind of fell off this investment group that was running things differently. And now they are back to making amazing product and cutting edge. And so to use their top secret tippet, which in my opinion, and I've turned a lot of people onto it, it's so strong. I mean, it's the best out there. So it's great to work with them. I love their fly line. Such a great company, really fun to work with them, helping them grow their brand as well. Tailwater Junkie, that's actually Forrest Dorsey. That's Pat Dorsey's son. And he makes amazing flies, amazing detailed. They hold up. And so it built his website as well. So it, once again, fun to work with them on two different levels. Douglas Outdoors, which is newer for me. I love their rods. Really a newer company, but really kind of leading the pack of being a new rod company and getting high reviews with these different rod shootouts. Yeah. They have their premium rods, Sky and mid-price DXF, and then they're also their LRS series. So it's kind of price points that top tier compete with the best of them, and then kind of middle tier that really you can't even get a fly rod for that kind of money of that quality. And then also fly trap holder. They're really cool, unique way to hold the flies. And then also Dupa Fish is interesting. People should check out their blog and their articles, but they've connected with me with some great companies. And so it's fun working with them. The last one I'll mention is John Noble, Scaly Design. So if you've ever seen me post these Yeti cups that have like these amazing trout designs on them, I mean, any trout fisherman that sees it, they want one. Like literally that's what happened. You see that design. Riggs just ordered a bunch of them to sell in their shop.
They are beautiful. I've seen his rod tubes as well. Actually, we reached out to him. I think he's coming. I know he's coming on the shows.
Great, yeah,
fantastic stuff. It's unique.
It really is, and he's so detailed, and it kind of it's the same thing. It fits the brands that I'm talking about. It's stuff I use every day, and I want to because it ups my game. His designs and his cups they're awesome.
I want to touch base a bit more on this subject because I'm sure, like you said, other brands have reached out to you and it's just not the right fit. Why do you feel that's so important to have the right fit? I mean, it seems like such a common sense thing, but we've recently had a lot of brands reach out to us saying, "Oh, we want to be a sponsor," stuff like that. And it's the same thing that we've currently said is, we're just not interested at this point or maybe going forward. But why is that important to you to make sure that's the right fit?
Because I'm so passionate about fly fishing and fishing every chance I get. For me, even, my Instagram profile, like a lot of people send me messages and, they say, "Thanks for your transparency. Thanks for being so open." I'm not one of the huge guys in the industry, so I'm not pretending that I am, but I have a lot of people ask me about product and literally I tell them about it and they buy it. I can't get behind a company where I go, "Yeah, get this, it's awesome," and it's really not what I use, or I don't think it's that great. I don't need to have these companies, that I work with. I don't have to have that. It's just kind of been a progression. And so for me, as much as I love when they send product, I love using the product, the discounts, whatever it is, I don't have to have that. So I'm not trying to accumulate a bunch of different brands, but really more ones that I love to work with. When I recommend it to somebody and they use it, they go, "You're so right. This is amazing." I want it to be that, not, "Oh, I tried it out and I don't like it." And I can literally say that all the companies I work with, I have no problem knowing that I'm going to recommend it and nobody's going to say, oh, I don't like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, really, truly, that's
Yeah, it's well said for sure. You're getting behind the product yourself and you're putting your name on there. So, you know what? I do want to shift to Chris. I just definitely want to shift to what you're currently working on right now. Tell us a bit about what you're working on in the film.
Yeah, so two things kind of happened, and I touched on it a little bit with how much I was working and a needed thing, like people ask me, how do you start a business? And it's a lot of hours, it's a lot of work. And I think people don't understand what that really means.
No, they don't.
And I think, the other confusion is people think, oh, you have your own business, so that's why. I've always been this way. When I work for somebody else, putting everything into it, and being the best that I can. So the fly fishing thing came about because working the hours I was, and my wife being worried about me and saying, you can't doing this. You need to, relax. Nothing could force me into it. So she bought me a guided fly fishing trip, and that's what did it. That's what did it. The first time I went out, immediately was thinking about, okay, I need a rod, I need reel, I need waders. I'm like, this is what it reminded me a lot when I got into sled dogs years ago. The first time I went out, I was like, I'm going to do this. And 12 years later, spent 12 years training, racing sled dogs. So fly fishing had that same impact for me. What it did was it helped me go, I have work to do. I need to work, but I have to get out and relax. And fly fishing, because I loved it so much, was that thing that got me out on the river. And so it changed me to be more relaxed, to be less stressful, get out on the river, let everything, just leave everything behind. Kind of long story, this fly fishing thing. So as I was talking to other people, I found out that, a lot of people have that same type of connection. Maybe the same story, maybe a little bit different. I wanted to put something together that told my story. And I have a lot of, which I've kind of touched on, sled dogs, northern Minnesota, lived in Alaska. I had some tragic things, and I'm going to kind of touch on all that in this film that I think is going to connect with most people that are in, fly fishing, to go, wow, I have a similar story.
Absolutely. I just want to ask you, is there any other reasons for what inspired you to make these films in addition to what you just told us?
There's really not.
You did pretty much sum it up. I do also want to know about your films. Like, are you going at these films alone, or do you have a crew, or is you and your wife, or is it just your business that's filming that? Like, just a bit more about the film.
Yeah, absolutely. So our company doesn't do films. So it's kind of a combination. I'm in the process of putting everything together. And of course, I know some of the brands that I work with will want to get behind it. And that's kind of, next stage. But who's helping me? Rob Herman, who's on Instagram, he does a lot of photography for Blue Quill Angler. He's an amazing, if you look on mine, he does a lot of my photos. I fish with them. He's helping me with fly fish, with the filming part of it. My brother, Jacob, he is as well. And it's kind of just a combination of a lot of different people that want to be a part of the project, which is really cool.
Obviously, your ambassadorship or your pro staff too is most likely going to get behind this as well.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't even talked to any of them about it because I'm just, yeah. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing, once again, it's the same thing. I'm doing it because I want to get my story out. I think it's, unique. I think a lot of people connect with it. I'm using the products as we're filming. And so it's just, it'll be kind of a later, thing. It's really something I'm just doing.
I just want to ask, are these films going to be more educational or entertainment or focused, maybe even inspirational focused? What would you say if you had to put a label on it?
Yeah, I would say inspiration focused, where, I, even on my Instagram, I've posted things about setting goals. I've, lots of people ask me, how do I start my own business? How did you build up to, 20 employees? And I think, a lot of, I come from no money, some tragic things happening, and just really, it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter things that you've gone through. That shouldn't hold you back. And so kind of telling that story, building that, and then how that kind of built into getting past some of those things. And then most importantly, which I know a lot of people can connect with, what fly fishing does and how it helps. And there's no comparison to military, none whatsoever. But I want to bring them up because that's a huge thing with military people that have, served and are dealing with a lot of stressful things. And that story has been repeated over and over of what fly fishing does to help them. So no comparison, but on a little level, that same type of thing of what fly fishing does. Yeah. So more inspirational.
You know what, Chris, I know earlier on we talked about social media, people reaching out to you on social media. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I follow you on social media, and I often see a constant advocacy for creating support and positive social media. Why is this so important to you?
Well, one of the things that I started seeing early on were kind of these fake profiles without names.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is familiar with the term trolling. And then even people that aren't hiding behind, and really all they have to say is negative things, calling people out. We talked a little bit about holding a fish, someone squeezing a fish. I mean, they'll learn, maybe if you want to message them, but kind of this just negativity. People that are newer, I have like a lot of people that first start fly fishing, they're discouraged. I mean, they post some photos and people just attack them, and they're just like, what am I doing wrong? And oh my goodness. And so I just, like, in today's world with bullying and everything, I don't understand how, I guess I shouldn't say how we put up with it, but sort of. And so I don't want to create conflict, but I definitely want to kind of expose some of these places are, unfortunately, guides, fly shops, and not fly shops and guide shop, but other just people fly fishing, and they just thrive on negativity. I really want to kind of take a stand against it, and I want to kind of expose some of these people. And it's a small group, and as a fly fishing community, to go, you know what? I'm not going to go to their sites and their memes that they're creating of people. I don't think it's funny. I'm not going to like it, share it. And in fact, I'm going to call them out on it. Sums it up is, here's what I found about fly fishing. No, there's not just one reason to do it. People do it for lots of reasons. And as long as we protect the rivers and the fish, and we're respectful, if their objective is to get a bunch of free product or be an ambassador, you know what? If they're respecting the river and the fish, fine. I think they'll come to leave that behind and change their motives. But it's not us to say, I've definitely found that as my Instagram has grown and I've, working with more and more brands, which is funny because it's, also on a business level, the haters, come out even more, and they message me. I've literally had to tell them, don't contact me anymore. I've blocked some of them. I prefer not to block them. I prefer to get my point across to say, leave me alone. So I think it's important because tearing down the community is not the direction we want to go. And it's not just Instagram. People go, oh, that's the bad thing of Instagram.
I could definitely clearly see this as an emotional subject for you. And I do want to touch further on it. Do you find that the community as a whole, like more specific, let's say genders are attacked more? Like say, for instance, a woman holding a fish in the river is attacked inappropriately holding a fish, or what someone would consider inappropriate? Because for me, I don't have an opinion on how they do that, right? I'm definitely a neutral stance on that, and the Fly Fishing Insider podcast always is. But because I'm not here to say who's right and wrong, that's for sure. I'm not judge or jury. but do you find that there's a different broad spectrum, or is it one specific area that people attack?
I've read some stuff about women being attacked more for, just because they're women and fishing. And so I'm not really, I know that exists, but I think it's just, I'll give you a perfect example. I have the Sims camel waders. I love them. They're great. They're new. And there's this, these people that attack it to go, oh yeah, like the fish can't see you. And it's just anything that's new and different, figure out a way to attack it. You know what I mean? Like you're holding it wrong. Camel raiders are stupid. Oh, why are you fishing, that stretch of the river? It's, you shouldn't be, fishing there. That's, they stock that river. I mean, it's just, they find negativity for just everything.
Fortunately, I do see that, and I see where you're going with that. And it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. Like we need to build each other up and not tear them down. And I know you've said that as well. So
yes, absolutely. I think it's important. Sometimes I go, I just need to ignore it and just forget about it. And then when I have other people message me just to go, man, I posted this photo and, should I be fishing at night? And so I then talk to them and they're like, oh, I never thought about that. So if you want to educate people, there's a right way to do it. But that's not their objectives.
Exactly. And little side note, Sims has sold a boatload of camo waders, by the way. So
yeah. I love them. And here's what I think is funny.
No.
You don't see people wearing Blaze on, right? You don't wear blaze orange when you go fly fishing. You know they can see you. You know the rod reflector, you know moving fast. So you know don't do this. So do camo waders help? I think on a level of every little bit can count. Yes, they do. Can you do everything wrong and wear camo and they're never going to see you? And no. But if you're talking about tippet, how can I get stronger tippet? How can I get a line that like every little detail count? And if you're thinking about those things, absolutely
Without having to jump
help.
back into what we just talked about, I always do ask my guests what that one thing is that they would change within the fly fishing industry. Is there anything else you would want to change?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a passionate sport and it's grown in popularity. And so, I mean, I fish in areas that are really busy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I will say two things. One, I think I'm speaking for Colorado, but there's other places. I think that during the spawn for browns in the fall, I think the state should allow signs to be put up next to the reds that say these fish are spawning. And so that new people that don't know that those two huge fish are spawning and they're casting to them go, oh, wow, that's what they're doing. And then the people that don't care and abuse, the resources and will fish, at browns on reds, that the sign will be there.
They'll get the evil eye, right? Yeah.
People will walk by. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that needs to be allowed. I think would be great if we could do that because the brown spawn is successful in Colorado. And so that, and then I think the other thing is, I think we should have some of our rivers like Cheeseman Canyon to have for flies only. I think those two things. It's more specifically Colorado.
Absolutely. I mean, you're passionate about your home waters and you want to preserve that for sure. I can see that. Chris, we're at the part of the show here where we have our frequently asked questions. So I just want to ask you a few questions. How many days a year do you fish?
I fish at least once a week, and then I go through some stretches where I can get out 2-3 times a week. But kind of the minimum is once a week, and that goes all year.
Where's your most recent fishing destination been?
I spend most of my time on the South Platte, which are what people are familiar with, the Dream Stream, Deckers, Cheeseman Canyon, 11 Mile Canyon.
Awesome. What's your go-to fly rod? Well, how about this whole setup?
My go-to whole setup. Okay. My go-to fly rod is the Douglas Sky. And it's funny, I've been fishing with 10-foot 4-weight, I don't know, couple of years ago, I could have never, fished with a 4-weight. When you get into some bigger fish, it's tough. There's something about that rod that I love. And so that, that's kind of that main setup. And then for reels, I've been using my Able brown trout reel, kind of like Scaly's Yeti cups. It's gorgeous looking, but I love how it performs. And I've been using a lot of the Ross reels as well. So those have been kind of my go-to, but that brown trout is what I've been using a lot. And then, from there, Cortland's ultralight for dry fly fishing. That line is amazing, super delicate landing along with their finesse trout. And then kind of my everyday, which I nymph a lot here with, 3 fly rigs. I use their indicator nymph line, which I really like, and also their trout boss. From there, I think, which is a game changer. And once again, everybody I tell about the top secret tippet. If you look at the ratings and the diameter, I can fish lighter 6X and even 7 if need be. And it's a game changer in pressured water to be able to go to 6X, but have the strength to land the fish. Tailwater Junkie, the flies he makes, the foam back or chocolate thunder, people call it. I mean, that's kind of, that fly is on most of my rigs.
You'd have to get a chocolate thunder.
Yeah. What's funny is I use that on pretty much every river.
Chris, do you have anything for our listeners today?
Yeah, actually, I do have. Tailwater Junkie has been generous, giving a code that can be used for 10% off his fly. All you have to do is enter Tailwater 10, and that gives you 10% off.
Me and you had also spoken. I'll just let the listeners know when the podcast comes out, you have some other prizes or whatnot that we're going to give away from your sponsors, but we're going to do that via social media, if I'm not mistaken. But I do want to thank you, Chris, for being on our show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and it's always fun talking about fly fishing.